Do you ever think about it? Because you go, I mean, you go pretty hard, you know?
Yeah, I think about it all the time. Yeah, I mean.
Whole life, it held me back because I knew that I couldn't like surrender to something nor give it up. It was like that definition of insanity. You do the same shit over and over again, expecting a different result. I was a complete prisoner of my own behavior. And finally, 3.5 years ago, I was like, I can't do this anymore. It doesn't work.
You have, you've lost some weight.
Around 2 ounces.
I was gonna say about 2 ounces.
Yeah, no, I stopped drinking and I just kind of put the weight off.
Really?
I run into a guy, I'm getting Coke, do you want some? Yeah, I'll get an 8-ball, I get an 8-ball. Then I'm at the bar and like, I don't want to be at this bar, I want to be back in my apartment doing this. So I stop on the way home and I get 2 fifths of Jack and a case of beer. Okay, that's Friday night. I come to in my bed and it's dark out and I'm like, oh man, it must be like Saturday night. Like I'm a little foggy on. I remember buying all that stuff and going back to my apartment, and that's where the memory stops. And I like get up and my ribs hurt really bad, and then I go out in the kitchen and I see that it's all gone. Everything's gone. There's 2 empty fifths, there's beer cans everywhere, there's plastic from where the Coke was. The pill box is empty. I come to realize that it's Monday. And I'm like, I've never had an experience like that where I missed 3 days. I have nothing. And again, you would call this a rock bottom in that I fully acknowledge you should not wake up from that. I should.
If I'm at fault with something, I will try to correct it. And I'm pretty open now about seeing what that is. But if I start wallowing in guilt, which I do, I'll go down to a path where it's no good. It's no good because I'm depressive anyway.
Well, it sounds like you've come out the other side of that, at least being able to recognize it.
For today, yeah.
For today?
Yeah.
That's sort of how an alcoholic has to live, right?
Yeah.
One day at a time.
It is, and that's
nonetheless, it's fucking hard because you've taught yourself this is the only way to ease my pain. I'm in pain, this is the only way to make it better. And I used to go to meetings and hear all these like old timers say, I'm a grateful alcoholic and the obsession left me a long time ago. And I would get so angry, I'd be like, fuck you, you're not grateful. What are you grateful for? You fucked your life up, you're grateful, congratulations. Boy, I want some of that too. And the obsession left you, what the fuck are you doing here? You don't want to drink? You're not an alcoholic, get the fuck out of here. I'm dealing with problems. I want to have a drink, how about that? You're just, and I resented that for a long time. And I went through a series of, I got sober for a year and a half. I wanted to be sober, I committed to it. And the problem with that fight is like, you can win 1,000 times, you only have to give in once. And you're never gonna win all the time.
Right.
So something fundamental has to change. And I hate to say it, but the cure for addiction, the only cure I've seen, and not like these fucking overpriced rehabs or a lot of these fraudulent fixes that are sold to people. They're good people who will support you. Alcoholics Anonymous, I think by and large is a good organization. It's not the only one. The cure for addiction is suffering. You suffer enough that something inside you goes, I'm done. And I'm like lucky because I hit that point before I lost really the things that were the most important. I know
you're not supposed to cry on the show, sorry. It's pretty emotional. I didn't know Will that well then. And he was like, hey man, do you remember we had dinner the other night? And Will, or Arnett, told me, he's like, you were a real. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah. And by the way, have your dogs gone out to the bathroom? And I was like, what? No, what time is it? It's 4 o'clock. Oh no, I think they have to go to the bathroom. They're literally standing by the door. And that was like the first time I ever realized I had a problem with drugs and alcohol. Didn't in any clubs, like no girls wanted to really look at me. Like it was like, what? I mean, totally depressed. It wasn't until really Hangover. I was 36 when I did the Hangover. So I got to go through all of those things before fame even played into my existence on a daily level.
So what do you guys get under there?
Just a whole bunch of mind your own business.
Cooper crediting fellow actor Arnett for setting him on what he calls the path of deciding to change his life.
It has been awesome seeing you in this place and seeing you comfortable. Nothing has made me happier. It's made me happy to see you so happy with who you are.
Cooper, now sober for over 15 years. He's also helped his famous friends get sober, which Brad Pitt thanked him for in 2020.
I got sober because of this guy, and
Was there a moment that was like the crystallizing, like, oh yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna kill myself, and then
Really?
you know, I did. Oh yeah, but I didn't have the, you know, I'm gonna say courage to do it. Like I didn't have the. I had a cat, and I was. This is a funny thing where, like, I actually had a baby cat, and I remember reading somewhere that if there's a dead body in an apartment, because I didn't have any friends too, so my body would have stayed in the apartment for maybe weeks, and nobody would have discovered had I paid my rent. And I was like, apparently dogs won't eat you, but cats will eat you. They will eat your body if they run out of food. And I was like, wow, like I don't want my poor cat to like. You know what I mean? And so I was like...
You would feel watched when you went into a bar, when you went into a pub, and then, you know, in my case, the quickest way of forgetting about the fact that you were being watched was to get very drunk. And then as you get very drunk, you become aware that, oh, people are watching more now because now I'm getting very drunk, so I should probably drink more to ignore that more. And, like, you know, so it gets into, you know, you get into it can affect.
Do you miss being not sober? Ever?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I miss.
What's the pros and cons?
That if I do, I'll wind up doing too much.
For sure?
For sure. I can't control it.
It's just the way you are.
Just the way I am. And I don't want to push it again, because when I get that way, my kids don't talk to me. I get a divorce. I'm thrown out of my own band.
Right.
What else? I lose everything. I mean, it's happened enough times for me to finally realize, you know what, it's not worth it.
Right.
You know.
I get it.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I got a lot of beautiful friends. I got a beautiful bunch of friends to keep me in line, you know. I got 2 sponsors, one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast, that I call up all the time and go, I want to get so fucked up right now.
So you've been sober for 11 years now,
Correct.
right? Well, first, congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
It's incredible. So we saw that Knoxville and a bunch of other people came to your apartment and just pushed you into rehab, basically.
Well, right. It was entirely organized by Knoxville. He showed up with, I believe, 7 extra people. And it was not the type of intervention where they ask you if you're willing to accept help. They showed up to simply inform me that I was going to get help. And, you know, by enacting California's 5150 law, they were able to commit me to a psychiatric ward involuntarily. And they were willing to beat me up, overpower me, and force me there. But I've never been a fighter, so they were able to just get me in the car.
Yeah. So we saw that part of them pushing you into it, but I want to know, when was the first moment where internally you kind of made that first step?
The involuntary hold that they were legally entitled, you know, to impose on me was for 3 days. It's called 5150, and it's a 72-hour hold.
Yeah.
But when I got to the hospital, I was spitting on people. I was just generally like so unlovely that they changed my status to 5250, which is a 2-week hold. So they had me for 2 weeks. And it took about 7 days for, you know, certain things to happen. You know, some people came in and talked about recovery, and I read some stuff, and I just like, it was time. You know, my life was a disaster. And I decided about 7 days in that I not only wanted to go into treatment, but that I didn't want to waste my time in treatment. That if I was going to make the commitment to get sober, I wanted to give myself every advantage and really do the things that people do to stay sober. And thankfully, I've been committed to that ever since. So.